Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall, psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. What an amazing week it's been. You know, the news that came through yesterday about Julian Assange being freed in a matter of hours is absolutely sort of amazing. I know lots of people around the world have been following this case with, great determination, hoping one day that justice would prevail and he would be set free. It's not for me to sort of weigh in who's right and who's wrong. I mentioned it because it is such a monumental change in our world that, somebody that's fought the legal system for 14 years, which in astrological terms usually equates to a Saturn cycle, because Saturn goes in cycles of 28 years to go around the zodiac. And we tend to look at, a 7 marker, a 14 year, and a 21-year marker, and then the 28. And 14 is usually Saturn opposing Saturn. So it's usually a push pull, a tug of war situation. Yes, we can probably relate it to that finally, that the tug of war is over. But yesterday, when I heard the news, my mind automatically went to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto's been in Aquarius on and off since the beginning of the year. It's still uncertain from astrological terms, from my point of view anyway, how Pluto's going to unfold over the next 20 or 30 years in this sign. But this to me is a good indication of the love that's been received. That sort of, it's not the love that's given, but the love that's been received from around the world, of everybody speaking very positively about this is a change, this is a monumental change for the world, that we're finally going to start to get to the truth in the bottom of a lot of matters that are going on around the world. So maybe, just maybe, it's a combination of Saturn plus Pluto. Anyway, let's get on with the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is the Hierophant. The Hierophant is an ambiguous card because a lot of people don't quite understand it. It does not represent a person as such. It represents an entity, an institution. It's the card of marriage. And when we talk marriage, I'm talking about legalized marriage, church or registry office, courthouse type marriage, not a pretending marriage, not living together, actual marriage, the commitment on the piece of paper, government or public company, body corporate, official building, or official situation. So this can be anything that relates to anything official in your life, whether it's a building, a person, an institution, something that needs to be sorted. So I know this seems a fairly ambiguous card to have for the card of the week. To how do we relate this to the major population around the world? Well, most of us are probably going through something that has an official feel to it, even if it's just filing your tax return or going to the bank and doing a transaction of withdrawing money or depositing money. They're all official situations. We walk in and out of official buildings or in and out of official situations online or on the telephone every single day. So this is just sort of saying, be aware of what you might be doing in the next week. Make sure that it's perfect. Make sure that it's right. Make sure that you're not being sort of hoodwinked in any way. And just be aware of that there may be more things that you need to attend to in this week that are of official nature. It doesn't mean it's negative. It just means it's a very strong card. It just means that we all have a lot of things that maybe we need to attend to in the next 7 days that need our attention. So let's move on to the astrology section. Look, my inbox was full because I had last week off. I had some situations I had to attend to. And it's sort of interesting to see how people sort of say to me, oh, look, I really missed it. I thought there was something wrong. I hope you weren't sick. No, I wasn't sick. I just had a matter to attend to. And it's interesting because people sort of really rely on this segment. And it still mystifies me in a way that how I can come on the show, talk briefly about what I see as the Polaroid snapshot of where the planets are in our zodiac at this point in time. And it can wash over and relate to so many people, which is pleasing for me because that's the aim of what I'm trying to do. But people sort of look forward to that, that show every week to sort of get their update of what the week may be going to unfold for you in this next week. So the sun is still in Cancer, so happy birthday to all the Cancerians. And it's a wonderful time of the year for all of us to sort of nurture ourselves a little bit more. And it doesn't matter where you live in this amazing planet of ours. I mean, here in the Southern Hemisphere, we're all in winter and all rugging up and sort of saying it's cold and let's get the fire going and toast the marshmallows. But I know in the Northern Hemisphere, you're all sort of looking to the warmer weather, sort of barbecues, cookouts, spending time out in the sun, going swimming, boating, all those beautiful outdoor activities that the warmth can bring. But it doesn't make any difference which part of the world that you live in. We can all nurture ourselves a little bit more. We can all do a little bit of self-love or a little bit of self-care. And that's what the cancer time of the year is about slowing down just marginally, giving yourself that permission to have that little bit of 5 minutes, 10 minutes off, an hour or whatever. Take yourself off for a massage, read a book, listen to some music, just do something that's good for your soul, something that's going to nurture you. I'm a big music fan and I always have music going in the background. So it's easy for me to slip into this sort of Cancerian mode and just put a little bit of extra music on and just take it a little bit easy every now and then. So we've got the Sun conjunct Venus, which Venus is the planet of love and affection or holding hands, and Venus is conjunct or holding hands Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. So, what does this mean? Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and the opposite sign of Capricorn. This is where the influence is at its strongest. For the rest of the signs, it'll just wash over very gently. So, if you are seeking love, and you're one of those four signs that I particularly mentioned, then it's time to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Go to places that have a real Cancer feel. Now, a real Cancer feel is something that's sort of homely. It might be a restaurant, it might be somewhere intimate. It's not necessarily going to the rock concert and jiving away to the music. It's something on a more personal, more private sort of level. Now, the fact that Venus is here and also conjunct or holding hands Mercury. Now, Mercury is the planet of communication. So we don't necessarily want to go to places where communication is loud or boisterous. We want to go somewhere where it's nice, it's soft, it's intimate, a nice jazz bar, something like that, where you've got the opportunity to meet people that are like minded souls in a nice, gentle, quiet, sort of soft, intimate sort of venue. That's the type of places that we need to be going. Now, the other thing with Cancer is, and people laugh when I say this, but most Cancerians I've ever met include chocolate in their five food groups. It's just something that they need a little bit of every day. It seems to be their coffee. It's their perk. It peps them up, it perks them up, it makes them feel good. And it doesn't need to be a whole bar, it just only needs to be a little bit. So if you know a Cancer and you're stuck for a present, some chocolate, particularly chocolate candy is the right way to go there. So it's a positive time of the year. If you're one of those signs and you're looking for love, then look for somewhere that's soft and gentle, somewhere where it's intimate, and you that may be where you're going to meet the love of your life. Now we're moving on to the planet Uranus. Now Uranus has been in Taurus now for a number of years. It's nearing the end here. Uranus is the planet of the unusual and the unexpected. So yes, it's going to definitely affect Tauruses, Virgo, Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. But it is washing across all the other signs, and I've seen a lot of influence there washing across the actual fire signs. Now, I'm not sure how I would relate that on an astrological level, other than Uranus is sort of, striking its little energy everywhere. And it's sort of, I suppose, those that are more in tune to it or making bigger changes in their life might be feeling the effect of the Uranus striking the ground like the bolt of lightning than maybe some other people that their lives are very calm and very together and not looking for a lot of change. So, Uranus is there, as I said, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, and the opposite sign of Scorpio. And, Uranus isn't always positive either. Uranus can be positive or negative. It is like the bolt of lightning striking the ground. So if you're very stubborn and pig-headed and hanging on to something too much, then it might be, the lesson here may be that you're going to be taught to let go of something that you've held so dearly and held on to for so long because it's the right thing to do. So don't ever look at Uranus as being negative. Look at it as being a positive sign because it is a positive energy. And sometimes we have to sort of break down those barriers to see that in the end, this was the right thing to do. Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion and opportunity, has just started its 12-month trek in Gemini. So it's going to be really affecting the air signs, which is Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra, and the opposite sign of Sagittarius. So for any of those four signs particularly, it's a time of opportunity, of expansion, of things sort of going a little bit easier than what expected. And they can also be sort of very sudden, sometimes out of nowhere. Jupiter can sort of act a little bit like Uranus at times. It can be very sudden, very deliberate, very definite. And then all of a sudden, it sort of just expands that opportunity right out to sort of say to you, well, I've created the opening, I've expanded it out. It's up to you now what you do with the opportunity. So make sure, particularly if you're a Sagittarian, that it's not a push-pull situation, that if somebody's pushing you to do something, look at it Don't resist it. You don't always have to pull back just because it's someone else's idea. Give it the merit, give it the time of day, explore it, and then decide what you do with it. You don't have to take on board everything, but you don't have to reject everything either. Now, for our darling Aries people, and I know there's a lot of people that watch the show that are Aries, we still have Chiron, which is not a planet, but it's part of the Arabian parts, is still sitting in Aries. Now, what it's trying to do is to bring about anything that's wounded, that's been buried, whether it's from this incarnation or previous incarnations, to the surface. It's so we can look at it, we can touch it, we can feel it, we can heal it, we can understand it. We may not always agree with it, but at least we can nurture it and hold it and look at it and say, okay, this happened to me because of this. I can't change what happened in the past, but I can change the way that I approach it or I look at it or deal with it and say, okay, well, it's happened. What lessons did I learn out of that? What was the major part that I had to learn, or did I have to share the information with someone else? Or was it someone else's journey that I ended up going along for the ride? And sometimes that's what it is too. It's not always just our journey or our lessons. Sometimes it involves other people, whether it's family or friends, and we're all part of that collective. So it's a time of great healing. It's a time of great intuition, of great insight. And it's not necessarily the time to get on your soapbox and start preaching to others, because maybe, just maybe, they're not ready to hear the wisdom that you've got to share. If they are, that's great. Continue on. Share the knowledge, share your wisdom, share your insights, share your suggestions with them. But if they look a bit, like, doe eyes with, the headlights are coming towards them and they're just sort of starstruck and not really paying attention to you, well then, maybe it's time to back off, or maybe bring it in more in smaller pieces, smaller increments that they can absorb, but understand and digest. Because it's not necessarily your role as an Aries, even though Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and your role is normally to motivate people to get up off the couch and get going, and then you take off and go on to the next adventure. Your role is not necessarily to motivate everybody. You can go so far, and if they're not reacting, then it's your job to shut the door, walk away, and say, okay, it's my time now to keep moving. It's my time to go forward, because I'm not going to invest more energy into somebody that's not ready for the part of the journey that I'm sharing with them. And that's not being egotistical. It's looking at your resources and saying, I only have a limited time here with Chiron in Aries. It's there mainly to work on me as an individual and a person, and the immediate people that are closest in my life, or the people that I feel may need help or could use some of my wisdom. But it's only to be for a certain period of time. If they don't respond, it's time to shut the door and move on. And that's really important. And it's hard for an Aries to do that, even though they're seen as sort of being such the pioneers and, ready to motivate people and then move on. Sometimes when there's a personal attachment to it, it's a lot harder to sort of let go of that, because you've got to remember the opposite sign of Aries is Libra. So it's sort of constantly trying to balance everything, make sure that everybody's secure and happy and everything's sort of, fair and equitable. And sometimes that can't be the case. So finally, I want to talk about Neptune in Pisces. Now, Neptune in Pisces has been there for quite some time now, and it's nearing the end of the cycle. Now, the cycles go for 30 degrees is what a cycle is. That's what a star sign is exactly 30 degrees. Now, Neptune's at 29, so it's pretty close to the end. Usually when you find a planet is very close to the end or at the beginning of a sign, it's when the intensity is really at its utmost. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion or delusion, but it's also the planet of creativity, of where we get our inspiration from, things that come about that are really beautiful and, starry eyed, and beautiful lyrics are written, and poetry and paintings are done, and music is written. So it's a very creative time. Now, creativity is in the eye of the beholder, I suppose, and we're talking about the sign of the water sign. We're particularly talking about Pisces. Neptune is the actual ruling planet of Pisces, so it feels very, very comfortable here. So in some ways, Neptune's not going to want to really willingly want to leave Pisces when his time comes to move into Aries. And it's sort of like, he wants to make the most impact while he's here, get everybody creative, and get everybody sort of, on their journey of, much more enlightenment and really listening to their inner voice. Now, this doesn't matter what your star sign is. I think we can all do with listening to our inner voice, listening to our gut feeling, listening to our instincts a little bit more. Instead of fobbing it off and saying, oh, that won't work or that can't work, let's stop putting all those I can'ts in there. Let's just go with what's being shown to us and sort of keep it in the back of our mind. Even if it isn't ripe yet, we can keep it in the back of our mind for a little bit later on when it will probably become appropriate. So we're talking about Pisces, we're talking about Cancer, Scorpio, and the opposite sign of Virgo. But for the rest of the signs, I think we can all be creative as well. And this is why, maybe we come back to the Julian Assange thing too, that maybe we found a creative way of freeing this man. He's going to face one charge, plead guilty to one. The time he's already served is going to be wiped, and he'll be a free man and back in Australia later today, hopefully. So there's lots of different ways of looking at things. And yes, we can make the pieces fit, but we also have to look at there's no one size fits all. There's no one planet or one configuration in astrology that relates to just one thing. It's a mix of things that go right across the board. So we're going to talk with Teresa now in Long Island in New York. Are you there, Teresa?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have a question I can answer for you, please, Teresa?
I guess I'm just wondering. I have an interest in somebody, but I don't know where it's going. I thought it was going somewhere, and now I'm wondering.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. Can you just tell me that person's first initial, not their name, sweetie?
B,
B.
B,
Okay.
like in boy.
B.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just so that I can tune into their energy for you. It's really interesting. Look, I agree with you that, I don't think you've misinterpreted what happened previously. It's sort of like this last 2 or 3 weeks is as if they've turned and gone a different direction. But I don't know that
Yes.
that's intentional. I want to say to you, look, let's just hang five. Let's not draw any definite conclusion here at the moment. I think it's one of those times, and we all have them where we think we're being focused on something and we're being drawn another different direction and we're sort of daydreaming or looking at something else and not realizing we're not keeping our eye on immediate situations. And that's what I want to say about this person. I don't think it's intentional. I don't think you've misinterpreted the previous that led up to this. This is just one of those
Hmm.
times where I think they're a little bit preoccupied. Look, we're nearly at the end of June. I'd be really surprised when we get to this time next month if things haven't bounced back the other way. That, you're starting to feel a lot more confident, that the relationship's back
Hmm.
on track, that everything's starting to move forward. They have a lot going on in their life at the moment that I don't think that they're at liberty to share with you at this point. But I don't think it'll be
Right.
much past this point. Like another month, 6 weeks, they'll be sort of like a kid that can't shut up. They'll be going blah, 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 telling you everything that's gone on. And it's sort of like you're
Oh,
just to sort
okay.
of sit there and nod. Don't say too much. Let them get it off their chest because they really don't want to lose you, sweetie.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear. Mm.
Yeah. And I mean, I
Very
think
good to hear.
sometimes as we get more mature, I think we question things more, don't we? We sort of start looking for
Hmm.
holes in things that sometimes maybe isn't quite as definitely there as what we are making out in our minds. But I can understand that you
Hmm.
don't want to put too much more energy into something if it's not going anywhere either. I appreciate
Right.
that. I'm just sort of saying, just hold five, be a little bit patient. Look, if he was still in the same way in 6 months' time, I'd say, look, you got to make a decision, draw a line under it,
Right.
shut the door and
Hmm.
move on. But this is very
Hmm.
new. Got to give him
Hmm.
the opportunity to come forward, share with you what's been going on. And sometimes we're not at liberty to do that. And sometimes we don't know how to put it into words either. I think it's a combination of both. But I think once he
Right.
gets it all sort of sorted or well on the road to being sorted, he certainly will share it with you. And that's why I said he's like a kid that won't shut up. He's just going hell for leather and you just got to let him talk. And, I don't
Hmm.
know that he's comfortable necessarily talking about his emotions either. He finds that a bit of a struggle.
Hmm. I think I could tell that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's sort of another layer to this as well because it is emotional. You know, and it's
Hmm.
not necessarily emotional as in connected to you, but emotional as in his connection with the situation. I'm going to say situations with an S that he's going through at the moment. And then once he starts to share it with you, it's so easy how I think that's why he's sort of talking so fast and not drawing breath because he's once he's started, he's got to get it out, before he gets cold feet again. And once he's done that, you can sort of see the relief on his face. And that's a good thing.
Uh-huh.
Now, look, I really think this relationship has got real legs. I think it's going to go places. I think it's going to be rock solid. And I think you can look forward to a really long-term relationship with this gentleman, and it will be very
Oh, that
positive.
was
It's just this
wonderful.
is the first little hiccup we've got to get over. So I hope that's helped you,
Oh,
Teresa.
that did. That did. It made me feel a little better. Thank you. And I look forward
Yeah,
to it actually, happening.
yeah, and it's always hard though, isn't it? At the beginning of a relationship, even if it's been going 12 months, you're still finding your feet. You're still sort of understanding each other's moods and how people handle crises or situations in their lives. And I think as I said, as we mature, it's not so much we have less patience. We've had experience before and we're sort of looking to think, oh, I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm not going to go down that road again. And I think we overdo it a little bit. So that's why I'm saying just take a chill pill, relax, see where things go. But I know that it's going to be fine. And, you're going to go on to have a really happy long term relationship. And it's well deserved for both of you. He is a very nice man. And I didn't see anything there that was in any way made me feel uncomfortable or that he wasn't telling you the truth or anything like that. He's just got to get it straight in his head.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome, Teresa. Have a nice night, sweetie. We're going to talk with Kathy in La Pine, Oregon, in the USA. Are you there, Kathy?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Kathy. How can I help you tonight? Do you have a question I can answer for you?
Yeah, I was just wondering. About a month and a half ago, my old college sweetheart got a hold of me, and he lives in Ohio, and he would wanted to go out west and see some stuff that he'd never seen. So I went down there and met him, and we had a really good time. Well,
Hmm.
we've been talking a lot, and I'm just wondering if you have any insight on where this might be heading, or
Okay. Do you mind sharing with me his first initial two, please, Kathy?
uh, Leo.
Okay. Right. So Leo is his star sign or Leo's his name?
Oh, it's is his first name? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fine. Okay. Yeah, I only asked for his first initial. That's fine. I just,
Oh,
thought you might necessarily want to share it with the rest of the world, but that's okay. So going into his soul, it's really, really interesting. That was a calculated move on his part to reach out to you. It wasn't something he did randomly or because he found you on social media and thought, oh,
no.
wow, I'll reach out to Kathy. It was a calculated move. You had been coming in and out of his mind for some time. I'm going to say at least 3 months. I'm probably even looking longer. We could probably even stretch it out to 6 months if the truth was known. That, you kept coming in and out and it got stronger, that he then had to sort of investigate how he could find you and see what you were up to and see what stage you were in your life. So he was pleasantly surprised when you actually responded to him and then the two of you started corresponding. So that was really quite exciting for him because he wasn't sure where this would go. He could have contacted you and you said, go take a, running jump. I'm not interested. Or, I'm happily married or whatever. So, that was a really nice connection. Look, I think both of you have been through a number of things in your life, between, school and now. And that's okay. That's made you the people that you are today. I've got a really nice feeling about this. I feel this is going to grow, slowly but consistently. It's sort of like a nice layering effect to the relationship, like you're taking it at a reasonable pace, but yet you're enjoying each other along the way too. So if it came to the point that this became very serious, Kathy, who would be the one to move?
Oh, that would be tough.
Exactly.
Because I
That's why I'm
really,
asking. Yeah,
because
because that's where
I
I see it
mean,
heading.
yeah, because the thing is I don't really want to move in there with him because that's where he was married for a long time, and that was
Hmm.
their house.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Or unless, yeah,
I can understand that. Let's sidestep that the house where they were married. Let's just sort of say, okay, it would be if you went there, you'd be going to somewhere new, something that the two of you would pick. Would you be prepared to pack up and move to Ohio, where he is, or would he have to come to you? That's the $1 million question.
well, I'd rather have him come here because
Oh,
I don't like
absolutely.
Ohio.
No, I don't blame you. Not that I've been there, but I've seen it on the TV. So, yeah, I mean, look, when I say that, that to me was the powers that be, on a soul level for him and you, showing me that this is where the relationship's heading. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be faced with this decision next week, but that was showing me that
Mhm.
the relationship is going to become very serious. We need to think longer term. We, don't want it to become as a surprise to you that, hang on a minute, you know, he drops the bombshell and says, "Well, I'd like you to move out here with me." And you think, "Oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm not doing that." At least, we've taken the edge off it a little bit. Look, I don't feel that there's anything there that I don't like about what I'm seeing about him. Yeah, look, I mean, we've all got our faults, but
Right.
basically, what I see is this man in his previous marriage was downtrodden. She took a lot of his confidence away from him. And that took a lot, I
Mhm.
think, for him to sort of start relayering that about himself and getting his confidence up. And then, sort of, you coming in and out of his mind all the time. That took an awful lot for him to try and track you down and get to the point of reaching out. But I can only see good things there, Kathy. So I mean, enjoy it. Enjoy, you know, the game of love. It's really beautiful. And in
Yeah.
time to come, maybe this time next year, you might have to be sitting down having a talk about where we're going to live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've thought about him a lot over the years too. I kind of
Yeah.
felt
So
that
see,
we really
the
connected
power of love.
a long time
The power
ago.
So the two of you are destined to be together, and it's just, sometimes things take a little bit longer. Anyway, Kathy, that's where we've got to leave it. I wish you well. I know the two of you are going to be very, very happy. So this week, the song of the week I'm going to feature is with one of the world's greatest singers from Canada, and there's a new documentary coming out on her illness of stiff disease. And I think for those of you that are big fans, as I am, of Celine Dion, you'll know who I'm talking about. And one of the most beautiful songs I think Celine ever sang was called The Power of Love. And it's a very, very powerful song. I think it's very appropriate for the two ladies we've been talking to today. That, the song has beautiful meaning, and it's one of the nicest versions of that song I've ever heard. And for those of you that are big Celine Dion fans, there's a documentary on her illness that's going to be screening worldwide this week. I'm not going to mention on which cable provider, but it is going around the world. And it's a very, very beautiful song. And it's something that, every time I hear that song, it just sends chills around my gives me goosebumps. And I think it's a beautiful song. And there's many, many people out there that are going to be experiencing what the power of love really is. And I think many of us think we fall in love, but it's until we meet that someone special, that someone that really does change who we are and how we view love. So until next week, enjoy Celine Dion and the power of love. Bye for now.